Some people on this planet have an incredible ability to take derelict or abandoned structures and rebuild them into something amazing. For these creative types, something like a filthy old public restroom is simply a masterpiece waiting to be brought to life. So without further ado, let's take a look at the most pimped out public toilet you'll ever see, along with more amazing examples of architectural transformations. Public bathroom to private home. Not many people would get excited about old public toilets, but architect Laura Clark couldn't wait to get her hands on this dilapidated set of porcelain thrones. You see, these underground toilets were located in South London, UK, where affordable property is hard to come by. As it had been abandoned for about 30 years, Laura was able to purchase the lease for just £17,000. That's about $21,000. Even though it was a long, thin space filled with rubble, Laura saw potential in the property's impressive height, along with the glass brick ceiling letting in lots of natural light. She set to work turning the main restroom space into her living room, with the former attendant's office being transformed into her new bathroom. She finished it all off with a red gloss kitchen where the urinals used to be. For just £65,000, or about $80,000, she managed to transform a porcelain throne into a porcelain home. Best of all, that investment will come in handy if she ever sells the property, as its estimated value is now upwards of £450,000. And speaking of urinals, if you want to help improve your aim, see if you can hit those like and subscribe buttons on this video. That way you'll be sure never to miss the most amazing facts and stories currently gracing the internet. But it's not all toilet humor, so let's take a look at some more incredible architectural transformations. Level up. When Heidi and Joel Allen of British Columbia purchased this run-down, shabby suburban ranch house, they left many of their new neighbors scratching their heads. Who would want this old, bizarre-looking house, which apparently had holes in the floors and walls, with sheds filled with old garbage? Well, the Allens did, because they were looking up. Literally. They added a new floor to the top of the home to make the most of the view, along with a side extension. Excavating the foundations also allowed for a more functional entryway and carports. Then, after reconfiguring the windows and adding a new porch under the birch trees, the house was unrecognizable. The addition of cedar shingles and a painted wood trim finished the home off nicely. But the really amazing thing was they managed all of this for just $200,000. Now that's how you take it to the next level. Hey Siri. While some people see a rundown, old-looking commercial building like this old structure as a lost cause, others see an incredible opportunity. Despite appearing incredibly worn down, the height and location of this building in Bangkok, Thailand made it the perfect canvas for the architects at Idin Renovation. Inspired by a Tetris-like design, the architects focused on adding windows and light to open up the once dark and dreary space in a renovation they called the SIRI project. No connection to the little lady in your phone. But as you can see, the transformation is incredible nonetheless. With each individual level renovated to serve as a family-focused living space, each one perfectly fits around the boundaries of the others, creating rooms with tall, unique interiors. They even added a central space encapsulating a tree, adding a bit of nature in the heart of the big city. Does that make this a tree house or a house for a tree? Great British Glow Up. While the Queen of England may live in the lavish Buckingham Palace, not all of Britain's architecture meets her royal standards. One particular example of British architecture gone wrong was this cube house that used to be found in Kent, England. This one-bedroom, one-bathroom shoebox was described as the ugliest house on the street, until savvy buyer Joanna Lewis decided to try her hand at a makeover. She removed the walls between the bedroom and the bathroom on the ground floor before adding an extension on the back, which became her kitchen. She then transformed the upstairs, which used to be a kitchen and living room combo, into a master bedroom. A year later, she added another floor to the house to give her family more space, with a nursery and another bedroom, with an amazing view of the nearby sea. In just 2 years, the house was completely unrecognizable. She managed to transform this one-bed, one-bath nightmare into a 4-bed, 2-bathroom, sea-view balcony dream. That's enough to make even the Queen jealous. WC to WB. We've already seen that a little elbow grease can transform a public toilet into something spectacular. But can you ever imagine turning one into a bar? Well, another group of crazy Brits decided to make use of Newcastle's Victorian-era public toilets for one of their favorite hobbies: drinking. The restroom was set in an underground arrangement which had been derelict for over a decade due to the council's budget cuts. The circular building was famous in the local area for its incredible tinted glass roof structure, which would have gone to waste if it were filled in or left to decay. But as part of the area's multi-million-pound restoration project, the public restroom was totally transformed. After spending £100,000, or roughly $122,000 on the refurbishments, the brand new WC Wine Bar opened to the Newcastle public in 2020. The space has kept many of the restroom's original design features, like the white tiling and the beautiful glass roof. But let's just pray it didn't keep the smell. 70s style up. The 1970s was one hell of a decade. But one thing about it that didn't age well was the architecture, as proven by the Garfield residence in California. For all its 15,000 square feet of space, this tired ranch home looked incredibly outdated, from the paintwork and middle-pitched roof through to the cottage-style kitchen cabinets. This home needed a complete remodel, which is where Fur Studios stepped in. They opened up almost every single aspect of the home. They replaced the front portion of the house with full-height windows and removed walls to open up the kitchen and living space. They even replaced the outer living room wall with a bifolding glaze wall. This can be retracted to open onto the home's brand new patio space, complete with a custom fire pit. If this amazing home makeover is anything to go by, it seems the key to a timeless look is to add a lot more windows. Just don't take it too far, like these concept houses, unless privacy is your very last priority. School bus to tiny home. The tiny home sensation swept across America around 2012, with many intentionally compact accommodations designed to only have around 130 square feet of space. That's about the size of an average shipping container, which, incidentally, is what many of these tiny homes are made from. But as many man will tell you, it's not about the size, it's what you do with it. And a great example of this is this unusual conversion. A school bus converted into a fully functioning living space by Von Thompson Creative. Starting with the chassis of a school bus, Jeremy Thompson added real pine walls, wood countertops, and plenty of cabinets, shelves, and expanding drawers inside for storage. Large windows were also added to make the most of the natural light, making their off-the-grid living situation much easier. The final transformation includes a full kitchen, living area, log fire, reading nook, and bedroom space. On top of all that, there's even a flushing toilet and a shower, complete with an on-demand tankless water heater. And the best part? The bus still works, meaning the Thompsons can move their home whenever they feel like it. While they never put a number on how much it all cost, the average cost to build a tiny home like this is about $23,000. That's less than 10% of the price tag of the average $272,000 American home. Looks like this bus is ready for boarding. The Holiest Bookshop. It's a huge shame when old unique landmarks such as churches need to be torn down due to disrepair. This was a very real threat facing this beautiful 13th century Dominican church located in the middle of Maastricht in the Netherlands. Over the centuries, this Gothic prayer hall was battered by invading armies. But after a brief spell as a parish church, it was eventually turned into a not very holy warehouse. But an inventive reimagining by Dutch architects Merckx and Gerard found an incredible new use for the space. Using a huge two-story black steel structure, the interior of the church has been transformed into a modern-looking bookshop. Along with the rows and rows of books, a central cafe has been included along with a table in the shape of a crucifix in homage to the building's past. While using the cross in this way may have been blasphemous centuries ago, this chic reimagining is so sleek I can't help feeling like even Jesus would approve. Garden flat. While it's commonplace for developers to buy up old flats, refurbish them, and sell them on for profit, one flat in Hammersmith, London was more work than most. The original apartment was bought for £300,000. That's about $367,000. And from the horrendous look of it, you can tell that the price tag was mainly for its prime location. With bricked up windows and huge holes in the floor, the only real positive was that it had a lot of space with several large rooms, a garage, and garden. Using space to their advantage, the developers extended the rear and sides of the property, making the garden smaller, but the interior much bigger. The back room was turned into a kitchen, and by sectioning up the remaining rooms, this one-bedroom flat was turned into a 3-bedroom. They managed all this work for £130,000, or about $160,000, in the space of just 9 months. Though for the £430,000 total the developers spent on the house, they could have had 22 tiny homes made from shipping containers. With that many strapped together, you'd basically have a mansion. Corner transformer. There's something iconic about the duplexes of San Francisco. But while these wood-paneled homes are distinctive, extensive remodeling can leave them looking a little worse for wear. When Barron Studio Architects took on the project of transforming this San Franciscan home, they noticed that while remodeling had been extensive through the house, it hadn't been done carefully. To update the home, they decided to open it up, removing garish panels in the living room to make the lower floor space feel larger, more modern, and more connected. Huge street-facing windows were installed into a central space which is now connected to the kitchen and had many of the dividers removed for that open-plan feeling. But the biggest change has to be the exterior. What was once a dreary-looking block of gray paneling on the corner of the street has been transformed into a contemporary, redwood-paneled piece of art. Looks like San Francisco just got a new landmark. It takes a town. While renovating a single house or building is challenging enough, how hard do you think it is to restore an entire town? Well, the residents of Burzine and Palestine experienced that firsthand. The historic town was once known for its university and thriving streets, but when the university moved to another location, the town fell into a state of decay. To save it from being lost, a 5-year project initiated by architectural preservation organization REWALK was implemented to help rebuild the decaying town. Streets like this were repaved, historic buildings were cleaned up and rebuilt in the traditional style, and forgotten interiors like this basement were reimagined into workable spaces. With the expert usage of traditional techniques, the town of Burzine was gradually restored to its former glory. Now that's how you put a town back on the map. Factory reset. When Ricardo Bofill stumbled onto the decrepit remains of an old cement factory in 1973, he saw past the gaping holes and haunted-looking silos. The more than 320,000 square foot industrial complex, located just outside of Barcelona, was a World War I-era plant that had closed down many years before. But Bofill saw a huge potential in the ruins and set to work for over 40 years to give it a new lease of life. Despite the massive task ahead of him when he set out, Bofill was determined. The arches in many of the buildings were gradually filled in with glass windows, and vast portions of the floor were covered in wood paneling. But to stay true to the location's history, some striking elements like this set of spiral stairs and these silos were left almost the way they were found. But the crowning glory of the cement palace is the vegetation, designed to look like it's crawling over the building, softening some of the more hardened concrete features. I guess you could say this incredible restoration was cement to be. Picture House Pep-Up. When the Welsh Apari family bought an old 1920s cinema in the heart of South Yorkshire, England for the land underneath, they assumed they'd be able to demolish the building. But when the council insisted they had to keep the historic structure, they got creative with the crumbling building blocks they'd been left with. With the outside looking worse for wear and the inside all but caved in, they certainly had their work cut out for them. They demolished the back half of the old cinema and then built their own house directly onto the external face. And the final result was picture perfect. Along with their large open-plan bottom floor, they built up the first-story bedrooms with an adjoining roof terrace along with 2 balconies on the top floor. The exterior was blast cleaned and had major components like its window frames replaced for a super polished finish. This old cinema building has had more work done than Kim Kardashian, but it certainly paid off. Just remember to bring your own popcorn if you ever stop by. Reach for the skies. There are some buildings that, from the outside, look like they're beyond hope of saving. Like this old Royal Air Force control tower in Perthshire, Scotland. which seemed like a total lost cause to developers. Built in 1941, the interior of this once important building had all but rotted away, leaving a dilapidated shell of a building. But after it was picked up by James Denholm Partnership developers, its outlook no longer seemed bleak. Seeing value in its placement on the rolling Scottish fields, they refurbished the entire structure into something magnificent. The 4-story cube was given huge windows to make the most of the panoramic views, crowned with a rooftop sunroom and large open terrace. Inside, you won't find any remnants of a control room or armory, but you will find a completely open planned interior with 4 bedrooms spread over 4 floors. All of this is connected by a staircase encapsulated within the glass at the building's side, so you can enjoy the view no matter where you're going. Putting a price on this kind of perfection is hard, but it is currently on the market for a staggering £1.15 million, or approximately $1.5 million. Don't get me wrong, that's a huge transformation, but is it really worth that much? You could buy this mansion in Detroit and still have change left over compared to that price tag, although you would be in Detroit. Let me know which home you'd rather own in the comments section. Tower power. Not many people have the fortitude to look at something as awkward as an old water tower and declare, I want to live there. But that was precisely the story for a local landscape architect from Antwerp, Belgium, when they set their eyes on this skeletal-looking structure. Convinced they had the foundations of something amazing, they employed designer Joe Crepane to make the vision come true. Meat was added to the bony framework by way of a solid first floor that surrounded the 4-legged base. This formed a living area and bathroom, which then led up to the legs of the tower. A steel stairway was implemented to cover the tower's 4 stories, starting with a bedroom here, a study here, and a guest room here. There's even a winter garden on the top floor. But it's not for the faint of heart. A translucent glass facade makes up the exterior of the tower. So while you get all that natural light, people outside can also partly see inside. While that would make a lot of people uncomfortable, I'm sure there are several exhibitionists out there who can't wait to check this place out. Which of these transformations surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.